Hey everybody, it's Natalie McKenzie with The Whole Woman, and it's 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. That makes it Quaran-Tea time. That's right, grab that tea, hit that share button, and invite a few friends because today's guest is absolutely going to be my favorite moving forward. So before we do that, I want to congratulate dear friends Ray and Vivian Chu on starting their very first summer internship program, and to the 26 lucky, amazing, bright, brilliant, and exquisite students that have been selected. I say congratulations. You have no idea what a privilege this is, and I wish you the best. So in the meantime, get your tea together, hit that share button, and help me welcome today one of New York's finest. She is, ladies and gentlemen, newly appointed to the New York State Appellate Court, and her name is Justice Tanya R. Kennedy.
Hello.
Hello, Justice Kennedy, and welcome to Quaran-Tea. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am well. I'm excited because I know you. I'm excited for your appointment. I'm excited as a Black woman to see such an exquisite honor being adorned upon you. But I know how hard you worked to get here. So congratulations. God bless you. Stay safe. And may you always, always be guided by grace and mercy.
Thanks so much. And I also have my tea, my
Ooh.
Lady of Justice teacup. I'm ready.
Oh, look at that. Now, remember, I aspire to never sit in front of you. But if I ever do, just a little grace, please, Your Honor.
I would probably recuse myself. You want me to be fair and impartial.
So, Justice Kennedy, wow. What an honor. Congratulations again. I don't think I can say that enough. And especially in these very unique times, I'm even more overjoyed to see someone who I trust will be fair and impartial, all kidding aside, sitting in such a high seat. So thank you.
Thank you.
So here at The Whole Woman, Your Honor, and let me just say to our guests that most people really don't understand our judicial system. Let's just be fair. And if we do, we just know there's a judge, and the judge presides over hearings in a court. So for that purpose, let me just say, what you're looking at is a female, an attorney who has risen to some of the highest ranks in our judicial system. And so, lest you forget, there is a handle before her name. She is not Tanya Kennedy. She is the Honorable Tanya Kennedy, and she sits over the highest court in the state of New York. And we understand what a powerful court system, or rather, how influential the courts in New York are. So again, Your Honor, thank you for being here.
Now, thank you. Natalie, can I just say one thing, if I may? You've given me an additional promotion, which I have yet to earn. The highest court in the state of New York is the Court of Appeals. That is the highest court of the state. And you'll be glad to know that the person in charge of that court is a woman, Chief Judge Janet D. Fiore. I am now on the intermediate appellate court, the appellate division, and there are 4 appellate divisions throughout the state of New York. And I just want to say one more thing, if I may. Judges impact people's lives each and every day, but rarely do you know who the judges are. So I want to encourage you, for those persons who live in areas where judges are elected, because judges can be elected or appointed. In New York, judges are elected or appointed. I want to encourage your audience that you should know who the judges are before you vote for them. And once you vote for them, you should hold us accountable, but you should learn how to become a judge and how to get involved. And more importantly, who the judges are in your community. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that correction and education. And you've just proven me correct. Most of us truly do not understand the judicial system because I was mistaken in thinking that the appellate court that you sit on is the highest in the state. And so thank you for that bit of education. As you all know, I'm always tightening up on my civic lessons, all lessons for that matter. So, Your Honor, help us understand who you are. How did you get to be where you are today? And what went into the making of the woman, the lady justice that we have the pleasure of speaking with today? Where'd you grow up? What influenced you? Who influenced you? When did you know you wanted to be an attorney? And did you always aspire to be a judge?
Well, let me say this. I always say that titles come and titles go. And I am a judge, and I'm so honored and humbled to hold that position. But I am Tanya R. Kennedy first and foremost. I am a person, and it's a title, but it's a title that I cherish. I'm from the Boogie Down Bronx. I'm a proud Harlem resident. I am the product of a single parent household. I think my mother is watching, so I want to give her a shout out. Eleanor Kennedy, who is affectionately known as Miss Ellie. Judges are not supposed to be biased, but I'm biased about one thing, and I'm sure that people on the screen may disagree, and that's fine. I'm a product of the New York City public school system and Brooklyn Tech, not science, not Stuyvesant, is the best high school, Brooklyn Tech. But seriously, my mother really sacrificed to show me that life existed beyond the Bronx. And I would have to say she's my number one role model because she rose through the ranks as being an encoder operator at American Express to the chairman's office, where she traveled not only throughout this country, but throughout the world, training American Express employees on customer service. And when she retired, she opened up her own business selling women's clothing, accessories. When she retired from that business, she then started a travel company, traveling all over the nation and the world. And she's really my role model.
Wow. You know, that's great to hear. And what an influence she has had on you. And I am sure she is beyond proud of you and your accomplishments.
Yes, yes, yes.
So tell us what it was like growing up in the Bronx and then attending Brooklyn Tech, and where you went off to college.
Sure. Well, as I said, my mother engaged me in so many activities. I'm certainly a proud product of the Black church. So very often we would spend all day, all night in church, visiting different churches. As I said, Brooklyn Tech, one of my fondest memories was singing in the Brooklyn Tech Gospel Choir. And at the time, I lived in the Northeast Bronx. So just think about this, traveling from the Northeast Bronx to various parts of Brooklyn, and very often, very late at night. This was during the weekend. I don't know now, but at that time, the number 5 train would start, stop running. And so we would have to shuttle. I have very fond memories of Brooklyn Tech. Teachers there encouraged me to excel. I still have dear friends from Brooklyn Tech. I went to Penn State. I immersed myself in studies, in extracurricular activities. I pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha, Delta Gamma, and that was back in 1987. April 24th, 1987, when I officially became a member. And I know we don't use that word pledge anymore, but I'm of a certain generation, and certainly that's what I did at that time. Not hazing, but it was a wonderful experience. And I thought that I would make my mark in the fashion industry, in public relations after graduation, and then go into law school. But when I graduated, the economy was not that great. And I did not want to come back to New York without a game plan. And so I applied to law school. I initially was accepted into Villanova. I declined that. And the reason being, I was dating someone at Penn State and thought that we would live happily ever after. But when we broke up, I said, I don't have any connections here in Pennsylvania. So I need to look elsewhere. And so I applied to NYU. I was waitlisted, applied to Cardozo. I was accepted. That's where I landed, graduated in 1992, admitted into the bar 1993. And it's really been a great ride for me professionally. I've received so many opportunities, and for that, I'm grateful.
So here you are, I'd say, what are we, 18 years later, 20 years later, 17 years later, if we're going to be exact. And you have already made it through so many ranks of the system. Help me understand that process and what it was like when you first started practicing.
Yeah. My first job out of law school was working for the New York City Law Department, the Office of the Corporation Counsel. And at that time, and it's probably the same, about 650 or more attorneys representing the city of New York in various lawsuits. When I first started, I was in the juvenile, let me say it this way, I was in the family court division, that's more accurate, prosecuting juvenile delinquents. I did that for 2 years, and then I transferred over to the tort division. And if I can pause for a second, when I got the letter, and I never forget it, I still have the letter, telling me that I was selected to serve as an assistant corporation counsel in the family court division. And I believe at that time, the salary was $37,260. I wasn't that excited about going to the family court division. To be quite honest, I wanted to go to the tort division. But that's the best thing that happened to me. And why do I say that? Because immediately I was thrust into doing trials. I did my first trial maybe 2 weeks. Of course, I bombed, but I got better. And interviewing police officers, civilian witnesses, where I was responsible for the prosecution of a case from the exception to the disposition. And that gave me a lot of responsibility. And so when I transferred to the tort division, I had a lot of courtroom experience. I could navigate my way through the court system and the courthouse, and certainly to have your finger on the pulse of the human condition, because you have to engage with the clerks, you have to engage with the judges, the court officers. And that was wonderful. And so when I got to the tort division, I was promoted very quickly from arguing motions to becoming a trial attorney, to becoming a tort trial specialist, and to becoming a supervisor. But it was that foundation at the family court division. And that's why I think it's so important to be flexible, because you never know how life is going to turn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's great perspective as well. Justice Kennedy, during this, I thought it was a little odd, the timing of the appointment. What do I know? Because I was so focused on the time we're living in. It's the middle of COVID. I'm thinking, who's thinking about going to court? But life is going on.
Yes.
And here we are living in the middle of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
How is that impacting you as an individual? How is it impacting business for you, as in within the court system? And what is it like receiving this appointment now? Is that a ceremonial change, or is it just the normal process? Help me understand what this has been like for you.
Sure. Really, we're going through two pandemics. Obviously, COVID-19, which has unfortunately disproportionately affected members of the Black community, where we've just lost so many lives, and then certainly the racial unrest. But let's talk about COVID-19 first. My last day physically in court was March 16th. And after that, I worked virtually from home, certainly cleaning up motions that were overdue, trying to get caught up. And that was a wonderful time to do that. And certainly doing oral argument by virtual means. We have hospital hearings, and I was on the slate for a particular week doing that remotely. And then when it was time to return back to the courthouse, myself, my staff, we did that. It was a flexible work schedule where we worked a couple of days in the courthouse, but remotely. And then the other days from home, whether we were working in the courthouse or at home, we were required to submit daily activity reports to indicate the matters that we were working on. So I have to tell you, it was very productive because you don't have certain distractions, and we were really able to get a lot of work done. On the personal front, I have to tell you, it's been a great time of self-reflection to really understand what's really important in life and to really cherish and savor your family, your loved ones, and really engage in self-care. And certainly, because you're not doing the hustle and bustle, we're very productive on the home front, shredding, getting rid of stuff you don't need. So it's been great. If we can switch real briefly as it relates to this racial unrest, when we talk about the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Rashard Brooks, the countless other persons of color, we see a movement afoot where people are marching. Unfortunately, some of the protests have become violent. I do not condone violence, and certainly that takes away from the message that's trying to be communicated. But I'm very hopeful because it's not just Black people marching. It's not just Black people saying all Black lives matter. We have our white sisters and brothers joining us, speaking up. We see changes in the law, certain laws now. So I have hope. But the bottom line is that we cannot give up the fight. And certainly, I know that what I say and do is limited as a judge, but I believe that I can play a role. How do I do that? I do that by what I'm doing here today, speaking to you, taking the mystique off of a judge, letting the public know that I'm a human being, I'm a public servant, encouraging you to get involved with the judicial process. And I believe it takes the bench, the bar, and the community to join forces to make a change.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. The civic engagement is critical, and our primary responsibility as just citizens is to ensure that we vote and get informed. And thank you for being one of the sources of information today. I want to backtrack just a little bit, Your Honor, and I want to talk about your appointment, your most recent appointment from Governor Cuomo. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Oh, I sure can. I got the phone call. It was on a Monday, and I want to say now it's probably 2 weeks. And I was in the process of calling my summer intern because it's a virtual internship and we connect twice a week. But I got this phone call and something said, answer it. And it had an Albany indication. And when I picked it up, I was advised that the governor's council wanted to speak with me. And it was about a little after 10. And when she told me that Governor Cuomo was appointing me to the Appellate Division, First Department, I want you to know that I cried. And I cried so much that my significant other, because I was with him at the time, in Queens, he rushed down the stairs because he thought something happened to my mother. Aww. And I was just so overcome with emotion that I apologized, for crying. I said, look, I don't mean to be unprofessional, but, when I look back over my life and to see where I started and where I came from and where I am now, it's just a sense of gratitude. And I said to the general counsel that it was certainly God's grace, his mercy and favor. Now, certainly I have worked hard, but I also recognize that there are so many people who have poured into me, who saw my potential and opened the door. And that's the issue that we have now, because we have so many talented individuals from underrepresented groups, but they don't have access. So for the people that are watching who have that power, I'm encouraging you to yield that power, because we have a responsibility. We have an obligation, because we're all in this thing together.
It was so well said, Your Honor, and your humility and grace certainly come forward. But the photo we have of you draped in this beautiful robe.
Oh, yes.
But I'm noticing the robe and the collar of the robe, Your Honor. Is that a state-issued robe? I mean, that is beautiful, but it's apropos for you.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. So you already know I like fashion. You know that. So I have 3 robes. 2 robes is a more formal winter type robe. The other is a lightweight summer robe, and it has a lace collar. And the heavier robe that was purchased by my now late grandparents, so they're with me all the time. The summer robe was purchased by a minister, Pop Miller, Aldris Miller, and his daughter, Alice Miller, from Canaan Baptist Church. So they are with me. And this robe that you see here, my colleague, she is a judge out of Texas. She has a company called Revolution Robes, where she designs robes for women jurists. And this robe was actually designed by my mother. She's also a fashionista as well. And she designed the collar. There's also a sash that my mom designed, that same fabric. There's also a tie as well in that same fabric. So if I am performing let's say a marriage ceremony, I'll put on all the bells and whistles. But I have worn this robe as well on the bench, and I have received so many compliments because it really speaks to who I am.
I love it. It's so defining and it's personalized, and it really,
Yes.
it humanizes you, I think. And I can imagine little young, well, not little, but young African Americans walking in the court already intimidated and frightened by the system, seeing such a robe may just think, okay, maybe I have a chance here. Right or wrong, but a stroke of comfort in the middle of trauma.
Nellie, can I just read something very quickly, if you
Please,
don't
I
mind?
want you to share with
Yeah,
us.
because, I really want to salute my colleague, Derek Thomas. He's from the Syracuse City Court. He's
Mhm.
a judge on that court. And he he spearheaded an effort of 122 judges of color to sign on to a statement to reaffirm their commitment to equal justice for all in the court system. Several media outlets published it. It's on social media. I posted it, and I'm just so proud of him. And I want to salute him. And here it reads, our message to the community. As judges of color who preside over criminal and civil matters within the community, we feel compelled, in light of events that have been and are unfolding before us all across the country, to take a moment to convey our thoughts as to our responsibility and commitment as jurists. W.E.B. Du Bois, the first African American to receive a PhD from Harvard University, wrote over a century ago in 1903 in his book titled The Souls of Black Folk that, and I'm quoting, daily, the person of color is coming more and more to look upon law and justice not as protecting safeguards, but as sources of humiliation and oppression. Sadly, for too many, such sentiments as are raw today as they were in 1903, as evidenced by worldwide protests in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd. Each day, we seek to dispel any narrative or belief that looks upon courts as instruments of injustice by treating each person fairly and impartially while upholding our oaths to the constitutions of the state of New York and the United States. However, there is much work to be done, and we, like all judges, must be mindful of the impact of systemic racism or bias in fulfilling the court's responsibility to ensure equal justice to all under the law. We reaffirm our commitment to make a positive difference within our respective courts each day and to assure that those appearing before us are treated equally with the respect and dignity that both the law and humanity require. Judges from the Court of Appeals, the highest courts, judges from the Appellate Division and the Appellate Terms, New York State Supreme Court, Court of Claims, County Court, Family and Surrogates Court, New York City Civil and Criminal Courts, and the city and district courts outside New York City signed on to this statement. And so the reason why I thought I needed to read that is so that your viewers can have confidence in and respect for the judicial system, knowing that there are people who look like you who are committed to equal justice for all under the law and speaking truth to power.
Well, Your Honor, you said it, and if I had a gavel, I would use it right now. But I truly appreciate that, because we need to know that there are those that truly believe in doing their job and honoring the roles that they have been assigned with integrity and truth. And I'm going to say this, the Bergen County Sheriff's Office here in New Jersey only earlier this week, under the leadership of Sheriff Anthony Curidan, did something very similar. He had everyone on his force in the sheriff's department, in the Bergen County Sheriff's Department, reaffirm their oath and speak to their commitment to justice under the law and treating people humanely and taking action against those who do not honor those codes of conduct. So I salute you and I thank you. And again, I am so proud, delighted, and excited for you, because we know the sky's the limit, Your Honor. And we ask that you please come back and visit with us. 30 minutes is not enough. There is much for us to learn.
And I want to salute you, because I know that you are a successful entrepreneur, a businesswoman. You are so engaged in philanthropy and helping others. And you're also humble, and you're looking good while you're doing it. I love it.
Listen, I'm hosting you. I've got to come right.
And I say the same for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's another episode here on Quaran-Tea. And wow, it's Judge Tanya R. Kennedy. And by the way, I just want you to know Miss Ellie checked in and let us know that she's watching, and Mommy is so proud of you. She said it tickled my heart. I didn't want to interrupt you then. But thank you so much for joining us, Your Honor.
Thank you.
We look forward to hosting you again. Again, thank you for being an honorable civil servant.
Stay safe.
Oh, thank you so much. And you too. Please give your mom our warm regards.
All right.
Join us tomorrow, same place, same time, 6 p.m. here on Facebook Live on the Whole Woman page for tomorrow's guest, Marshall B. McLean of Bank of America. This is information you will want to hear. I'm Natalie McKenzie, and I'm the Whole Woman. I wish you enough life to live, enough joy to give, enough love to share. I wish you enough. Good night.
Good night.